Every year, millions of lovers all over the world exchange roses, chocolates, flowers, and gifts on one day called Valentine's Day. But then again, how much do you know about this so-called special February 14th whose true history is filled with something rather dark than pretty? Well, take a seat there, friends, and let's talk about Valentine's Day and some facts that will blow your hats off. Are you one of those who believe that Saint Valentine is just one person? Well, wait till number 1. Let's begin. Number 10. Valentine's Day was originally pagan. Valentine's Day had a rather vague clarity when it comes to its origin. To some historians, Valentine's Day marks the death of a priest on February 1st, but to some others, its actual origin lies within an ancient pagan festival called Lupercalia, sometime around 270 AD. Those days, Lupercalia was dedicated to the Roman god of agriculture, named Faunus, and to the two great founders of Rome, Romulus and Remus. To celebrate them, their followers would gather at a cave where a she-wolf raised by Romulus and Remus once lived. There, the high priest would sacrifice a dog for purification, followed by a goat for sacrifice. Afterward, he would then strip the goat bare of its hide, dip it into its own blood, and then slap women on the street as a gesture of promising fertility. Because of this, many people believe that the Christian church at the time deliberately placed Valentine's feast to Christianize Lupercalia. But whether that's true or not, we may never know. Number 9. The Cupid symbol was not Roman but Greek. On many Valentine's Day cards, a charming boy pictured with a bow and arrow has become a tradition of love. But back in 700 BC, this young man was once a man with more powers than any god. According to Greek mythology, he was actually the son of the goddess of love. As the legend goes, the goddess was named Aphrodite, and she was fond of playing with the hearts of gods and mortals alike. Like his mom, he was handsome, and he had the power to make anyone fall in love with another. But as cool as that sounds, many literatures didn't really picture Eros as a kind god. Instead, they believed he was sinister and could make people fall into love that could later end up in tragedy. Today, things have changed, and Eros, or Cupid, or whatever else you call him, is nothing more than a playful little boy with the power to make anyone, and of course, an emblem on Valentine's Day cards. Number 8. The First Recorded Vow. From the leaves of history, the first recorded Valentine ever sent dates back to the 15th century, and it was credited to a French duke named Charles. Charles was a nephew of King Charles VI, otherwise known as Charles the Mad. But during a crossfire for the throne between the father and his uncle, he lost his father and was married off to one of his cousins at 12. Unfortunately, his arranged wife died a few days after their wedding, so he had to remarry the following year. In 1415, Charles was imprisoned by the Burgundian inside the Tower of London. From there, he wrote the first Valentine ever recorded. The vow was a poem, and it was sent to his wife sometime in 1415, while he was still in prison at age 21. In this sweet poem, he wrote, "I'm already sick of love, my very gentle Valentine." Aw, I'm blushing. Number 7. Valentines became viral in 1840. After Charles, the idea of sending Valentines began to gain more grounds, but only a few people still attached any value to it. By the 1840s, however, the story changed. Streets to streets, households to households, Valentine's cards began to fly around the United States, all thanks to a woman named Esther A. Howland, who mass-produced these cards and sold them in the United States. Because of that, she was nicknamed the American Mother of Valentine. But before her time, several handmade cards had already been all over Europe since the 19th century. Although many people cherished Howard's card for her distinct artistic designs even to this day, and it all began in a small shop in her family home where she hired a crew of local girls. Under her watch, these girls would glue several layers of color to design a card that no other producer could understand like she did. Number 6. Jewelry is the most valued Valentine's Day gift in the U.S. While roses and candies appeared to be two of the commonest Valentine's gifts, reports from the National Retail Federation surprisingly said that they were not the most valued. Instead, that title went to jewelry. In 2020 alone, almost $5.8 billion was spent by Americans alone on February 14th. The biggest share of the money went to jewelry. Others went to candy, clothing, and the evening out activities. activities in that order. Then, finally, only just $2.3 billion was spent on flowers, which of course is quite shocking considering how high flowers rank in the world of love. But the jewelry gifts that took the first place were meant for humans alone. Americans also value their pets, and every year, over 10 million households buy a special gift for their pets on Valentine's Day. Number 5. Convo hearts started on Valentine's Day started as medical lozenges. Today, many people used conversation hearts, candy hearts, sweethearts, or whatever hearts you choose to call these cool sweets to describe what they feel towards their partners on Valentine's Day. But do you know that these real-life emoticons were not originally invented because of Valentine's Day? Well, strangely enough, they were invented as a byproduct of a tool meant to be used to ameliorate sore throats. But what came out instead was the first ever candy-making machine in America. That machine was built by a pharmacist named Oliver Chase, and in his later years, he founded a confectionery company in England. His candies became synonymous with the most romantic day on the planet. Today, more than 8 billion of them are produced every year, and we call them Necco wafers. Number 4. Wear your heart on your sleeve was once more than just a phrase. This statement, Valentine's Day might be a good day to wear your heart on your sleeve, is no longer nothing but a classic idiom. But in the Middle Ages, it was more than that. Back then, there was a practice among young men and women where they would gather to choose their Valentines. In this gathering, they would draw names already written from a bowl. Inside these bowls would be the names of potential suitors for their Valentines. Once a name was being selected, they would wear it on their sleeves for the next 1 week so that everyone could see. In fact, there were even some people who would wear the lovers' faces on their leg to show the world just how much they meant to them. Hey buddies, can you do this today? Number 3. The vinegar Valentines. While lovers today share cards and flowers on Valentine's Day, things were a bit different during the Victoria era. Back then, people also had this way of fending off those they were not on good terms with. This opt-out strategy was later nicknamed by some dealers in the 21st century as the vinegar Valentines. These Valentines are more like sassy cards used to mock unsuitable Valentines. But the tone with which the contents of the card can be delivered to its target audience depends solely on the writer. Sometimes it's just a jab. At other times, downright aggressiveness might be the order of the day. But most times, cheats, liars, and flirts suffer the most from vinegar Valentines. Number 2. Why does the X mean kiss? In our world today, many of us sign off our Valentines with an X. But only a few could say why this is. Well, fret not, friend, it's not because of any rocket science in its history. Instead, its origin lies with Christianity. Back in the Middle Ages, Christians would often sign documents with an X that represented a cross. Once they append this, they would kiss the mark to indicate their oath to the religion. Over time, this habit was adopted by kings and commoners alike in certifying books and paperworks. In those days, the official slang was to say that these books were sealed with a gentle kiss. Somehow, this culture found its way into Valentine's anniversaries, and there you have it. Sometimes you could even add an O to add a hug. But let's leave that story for another time. Number 1. The famous Saint Valentine wasn't just one man. It's rare to find anyone who doesn't already know that February 14th was named after the patron named Saint Valentine. But the truth is, no one can say with certainty which Valentine this day actually honors. According to some faction, at least 2 patrons could have probably owned the title. The first man was one Saint Valentine priest who hailed from Rome somewhere around the 3rd century. That Valentine went against the rule of Emperor Claudius II, who placed a ban on young soldiers' marriage at the time. According to him, marriage would distract the soldiers, but Valentine illegally approved of the marriages. Unfortunately, he was sentenced to death after being caught on February 14th. From that moment onward, that day was named Lover's Day after him. But according to another legend, and probably the most popular one, Valentine wasn't killing for illegally supporting the union of young soldiers. Instead, he was imprisoned for planning the escape of Christians from Roman prison. During his stay, he sent the first Valentine message he tagged, "From your Valentine." And with all that said and done, let's call it a day. But before we go, why do you think Valentine's Day is so important? Let us know in the comments section below. Likewise, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share it with your friends, and keep the spirit alive. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.